The Phoenix Suns, essentially the Uncle Ricos of this past NBA season, have moved past what I would call utterly horrendous and embarrassing ownership.
More than 70 current and former employees interviewed by ESPN recounted conduct by Sarver they felt was inappropriate and misogynistic, including the use of the N-word and lewd comments made during staff meetings.
Some of the key headlines of Baxter's story surround alleged misogyny and include the following. A former female marketing employee said Sarver would frequently use inappropriate language such as, "Do I own you? Are you one of mine?" Said the employee, "He makes you feel like you belong to him. I didn't want to be alone with him at any point." And Sarver, through his legal team, denied using such language. But how was this allowed to go on for as long as it did, Baxter?
This is for as many questions as I asked of staffers, this is the question that they probably asked me the most. And they described watching investigations unfold in Dallas and with the Clippers and wondering, over a 17-year period, how has, not only you could say of the NBA, but just how has no entity, any entity at all, stepped in and held anyone to account, investigated the culture.
But they are nonetheless back in the news for this. They're getting sued in a new discrimination lawsuit where the accuser is seeking $60 million. Baxter Holmes, who covered the Sarver story, would report for the four-letter network ESPN. Andrea Trishan was a Suns program manager of, cover your ears, conservatives is a big one, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Ooh. She would file the suit with the United States Equal Employment Opportunity Commission and the Arizona Attorney General's Office Civil Rights Division. They are investigating it. Cherie Wright, founding attorney of IBF Law Group, who is representing Trishan, would go on to tell the media that Trishan filed the suit, quote, due to ongoing racial discrimination, harassment, and retaliation she experienced while employed with the Phoenix Suns. Specifically, her client endured overt racist comments and a hostile work environment that went unaddressed despite being reported to human resources and executive leadership. Let's dig in, shall we? Per Holmes, Trishan was hired 6 days after the National Basketball Association ruled that Robert Sarver was suspended for a year and fined $10 million, which, by the way, if somebody is a billionaire and you fine them $10 million, I understand that they hate losing any money, but for what was found in the NBA's investigation, for a billionaire to be fined $10 million is like you and I getting fined chump change. It's just nothing to these people. There will be no course of action to be redirected, in my opinion, internally when it comes to the ultra elite and powerful. It's a slap on the wrist. In the league's investigation, they found the Suns needed to address their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. From Baxter Holmes, the writer of this piece, the NBA mandated the Phoenix Suns retain an outside firm to evaluate and make recommendations with respect to workplace training programs, policies, and procedures, and hiring and compensation practices, with a focus on fostering a diverse, inclusive, and respectful workplace. That's key, because Trishan would claim she was not consulted when the Phoenix Suns were in the process of forming a diversity council that featured some team executives. Now, take a wild guess where the overlap is on this Venn diagram of those team executives. So ESPN, Baxter Holmes specifically, published their report, their story, on allegations of misconduct running rampant within the offices of the Phoenix Suns. Trishan would read it word for word and noticed some similar names, including then team president and chief executive officer, Jason Rowley, executive vice president and chief revenue officer, Dan Costello, Kyle Pottinger, the Suns' senior VP of ticket sales and service, and Melissa Goldenberg. Those names would serve on that council. So if one were to see this, they'd be like, what the heck? How could this possibly be? How could it be? If I've seen some stuff and I know they're not fit, why? So she began investigating. And that's when the story turns to this person, Kim Corbett, who would be Trishan's manager and head of HR. Trishan would say Corbett expressed disapproval and wanted the investigation to come to a screeching halt. Trishan's statement would read in part, quote, "This interaction underscores how Corbett's approach aligns with practices that perpetuate a hostile work environment rather than addressing underlying issues." Now, the Phoenix Suns would see this and be like, no, didn't happen. We need to go back on offense. Stacey Mitch, senior VP of comms for the Phoenix Suns and Phoenix Mercury, released a scathing statement which read, "A former employee who last worked for the organization in the year 2023 was terminated after less than 10 months due to repeated failure to perform her job duties. This individual filed a baseless charge with a state agency and is now trying to use ESPN reporting from 2022, specific to previous ownership, to make egregious claims in order to support her ridiculous demand for $60 million from the Suns organization. To be clear, this individual is making false claims in an attempt to gain tens of millions of dollars. We are confident the courts will find no merit to these claims and quickly resolve this matter. The Phoenix Suns and Phoenix Mercury are creating a world-class organization for every employee. We will not let opportunists succeed in their attempts to manipulate the media and use years-old reporting to seek financial gain." Pretty strong. They are denying Trishan's claims, and they think her number is blasphemous. Meanwhile, a Sun spokesperson would react to Trishan's investigating the council. Ms. Trishan's claims regarding the Diversity Council are misleading. The purpose of the Diversity Council, which is comprised of the entire executive team and other leaders in the organization, is to listen to the diversity data and information on DE&I initiatives to continue to further the organization's DE&I commitment. Ms. Trishan's job did not include any sort of investigatory or employee relations responsibility. So what it sounds like to me is they think she overstepped. And I will be curious to see if they decide to settle, which I think is what will happen, or if they allow the information to come out, because what it might sound like if one were reading this is she was doing things that she shouldn't have done by investigating the council and potentially taking a moral stand. From AZ Central, Trishan's attorneys say they're prepared to file a formal suit against the Suns, and they anticipate doing so. She has until November 13th to do it, per her attorneys. So, she would be terminated in July of 2023. I just want to make that clear as well. So this is a big story of a team who has not only underwhelmed when it comes to the NBA product, but on the court, but they have also really took their eye off the ball when it comes to proper practices in the workplace. We know this from years past. Are they potentially doing it again? If we have an update, we will bring it to you. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports, and or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.